Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is exactly what it says in the tin. It's how I managed to save £70,000 in 3 years. This video will show you how I got myself into this very fortunate position and share some very personal information showing you some of my biggest financial decisions. Before we get into the 3-year period where I accumulated this money, it's super important that I paint the full picture for you, as some of the career choices I've made have striking similarities to investing. This extract shows you the UK residential broadband speeds in 2008, 2009 and 2010. In 2009, I was in college and stumbling my way through life as a 19-year-old, trying to put my finger on exactly what I was wanting to do with my life. Luckily, the answer was right in front of my face and I didn't even realise it. As a typical teenager, gaming was at the forefront of my time, spending hours each day playing online. I started to research into what was the best internet provider in the aim of getting a competitive advantage online. Soon I began to realise that there was a movement in the UK where broadband speeds each year were getting better and better, so why not look for a career within the UK telecoms industry? I began really looking into the state of the UK telecoms industry as a whole, and it's this exact chart here, all the way back from 2010, that cemented my decision that it would be a fantastic, interesting career path. This extract shows you the fibre to the home global ranking, with South Korea having close to 50% coverage back in 2010. As you begin to look down the list, you can see Sweden, Norway, the US, Portugal, Italy and Turkey. And where the heck is the UK? Well, back 12 years ago, the UK only had about 1% fibre to the home coverage, meaning that a fibre to the home revolution had to take place, but when? Later in 2010, I began my full-time career as an apprentice working in the telecoms industry. 5 years went by, and in the meantime I was doing my job full-time, made a few internal moves within the same telecoms company, but was pretty much the same, with slow gradual progress over time. Then in 2015, 5 years after I had seen the initial opportunity, the UK telecoms industry really hit a boom as we began to see some huge investments into the likes of Virgin Media investing $3 billion. Then in 2019 we had CityFibre, who were purchased by Goldman Sachs, and also in 2019 KKR acquires a majority stake in HyperOptic. So what does all of this mean? It means opportunity, as the companies will have to offer more competitive salaries and packages to ensure that they're getting the best staff that the industry has to offer. To really make a go of this opportunity, I decided to go self-employed and worked as a contractor, which basically doubled my salary in 1 year. This graph here shows you my salary from back in 2010 as I served as an apprentice up until I returned back to permanent employment in 2019. The red lines shown here show my time being self-employed. You'll see that from when I was 19 to 20 to 25 years old in 2015, I was making a fairly decent salary from a starting point of $12,000 per year, managing to progress to $29,000 in 2015. That's when I decided to make the decision to seek contracting work and was brought in to work on a project which paid me £220 per day or £1,100 per week. To say that I was over the moon to be able to double my salary from 29 to 55,000 would be an understatement. And the next year there was another opportunity which came up, which was working on price work, meaning that you're paid on how many jobs you complete as opposed to the hours, and this meant you could either work as much or as little as you wanted. So over the course of the next 2 years I worked as much as I could, ultimately to make as much money as possible. What was the plan? The plan at that time was as simple as I wanted to save up to buy my first house with my wife, fiancée at the time. I also made the decision that as soon as we bought a house, I wanted to go back to permanent employment for job security purposes, as being a contractor leaves you more vulnerable to be facing redundancy. At 25 years old, things were the best they'd ever been. I was earning $55,000 a year, which is money I'd never thought I would ever earn. I had no debt other than a phone contract and a car payment of £180 per month. I was still at my parents' house, so I could save the majority of my earnings. I opened up a Help to Buy ISA, contributing the maximum I could each month. As a 25-year-old, I upgraded my car from the one at £180 per month. So what did I pick next? A Ferrari, Porsche, BMW? And the answer, sadly to say, is none of those. I ended up driving a 3-door hatchback at £220 per month, as I was aware that the task at hand here, which was to save as much money as possible, with the car I had not really being much importance. How did I actually save up the money? I wish there was a flashy formula I could share with you, but all I literally done was identify my living wage, which was the money that I needed to live my day-to-day life, as well as have enough to go on holiday and the such likes. I calculated this as being £29,000 per year, as this was my salary before I went self-employed, and for me 29,000 was more than enough at that time. I calculated that 29,000 per year after tax is roughly about £450 per week, and that's exactly what I paid myself each week, with every other penny earned going into my savings. Before I began this method, my life savings from 2010 to 2016 was £2,300, which, when you think of it, after working for 6 years, was quite a sobering thought, and I realised that I had to take some swift actions. 6 months later, you'll see that from the job I was getting £1,100 per week, I was putting about £250 of that each week into my savings, which was absolutely fantastic, and this allowed me to add about £1,000 per month. In the space of 2 months alone, I'd saved up nearly what it took me 6 years. 1 year in, and I'd moved on to my price work job. My salary changed for the better, but was very inconsistent. Some weeks I could put in nearly £1,500 in just 1 week to my saving, with the next week being £300, and in the course of 1 year my savings jumped from £2,300 to £25,600. I kept this job going from 2016 to 2018, which is when my wife and I bought our first home. The final amount I was able to save, after I'd paid tax etc., £70,600. The outcome from the 2 to 3 years of being self-employed ultimately changed my life forever. I had saved £70,000. I had a Help to Buy ISA with about £10,000 in it, which we used alongside the saved money to put down a £37,000 deposit on our house. This left overall about £60,000 in our shared pot. So what to do from here? I thought long and hard about what was the best option. Do I pay down the mortgage as much as possible? And then I began to look into what's the possibility of actually growing this money over time as opposed to spending. Firstly, let me share with you the decision that we made on our house. Based on a £60,000 deposit and our salaries at the time, what would the banks be willing to end us? And the answer is £330,000. To go against the narrative, we bought a 3-bedroom detached house. This is the exact floor plan right here. It's just an average property. It was valued at £155,000 and we got it for £147,000 back in 2018, as it needed a bit of decor work, with a mortgage being right now about £450 per month. The thought process here was, in order to build wealth, we need to keep free cash available to invest or save as we see fit. If you've ever heard of the phrase house rich, cash poor, this is where individuals or couples have most of their wealth in their dream home, which looks amazing, but struggle to pay the bills if price rises over time, such like we are in at the moment. Our thought process was to flip this, not necessarily to be house poor, cash rich, but be able to save more cash come in than what goes out. And finally, on to investing. In 2018, I decided to take the plunge. After doing some research into investing and into the stock market, I began my stocks and shares ISA. I knew straight away that this was something in my life that I'd been missing. It's a lifestyle and a hobby rolled up into one, and I haven't looked back since. This channel was created last year to help show my investing journey and to encourage others to take charge of their finances. There you have a quick look into my working life story rolled up into one video. I really hope that you enjoyed it and found some value in it and learning a little bit more about me and some of the choices that I've made. So again, thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.